Why so many panels? What is wrong?
Sorry?
Why so many panels for?
It's just because they have a higher electricity usage. I'm not sure what in the house is using a higher electricity, but that would be the only reason why. We don't do anything that's higher offset than like, putting 110 is the most that we can do.
Trustee Henry, okay for the agenda? Trustee Henry, okay for the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Trustee Coffee?
Yes, sir.
Trustee Evans?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Trustee Lopez? Yes, okay. We got another one, right? 12 Robbins.
Is that access, the ground access on that other wing of the house? That, legitimate, will be on the east side of the house. Not making one more very close to me. So PB2.
That works, but you could also access it from, I looked at that, but you can also access it from the center peak at the other side, or the northeast
Okay,
portion of there's a couple other spots where they could have picked that are more logical, but
all right,
at multiple points. But yeah, I see what you mean.
but as long as they have the option of going to those other locations.
Yeah.
All right.
Trustee Henry, okay for the agenda?
Yes, sir, Mayor.
Thank you, trustee Coffey.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, trustee Evans.
Sir.
Thank you, trustee Lopez.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, so just call Tony and make an appointment. And we'll go over.
Thank you very much.
I'll let you know.
This is just a new application.
No.
Thank you.
Preliminary review of, development of, corner North Cleveland and frontage. This property.
Yeah, Frontage Street. Everybody, my name is John Pop. Everybody hear me?
Way down low on the left side.
You think I can bend over?
That's the way it is. You didn't do it for me.
No, it's not plugged up. That works.
Thank you. Okay, is it working now? Okay, there we go. Hi, my name is John Puck. My engineer couldn't make it tonight. I own the lots I just passed out. On the corner of Goodwin and Frontage Street, which would be in front of lot 23 and 21. I'm proposing to do some development there, propose for a two-family house. Currently, lot 25, which is a lot that was given up when the 287 went through, is owned by the town. It's a surplus property. I'm proposing to do some improvements to Frontage Street, namely add 13 additional spots on Frontage Street onto what is, there is 13 spots there now, but add 13 additional spots onto there. In trade for that piece of property, which is identified as lot 25. Reason for adding that would be just to increase the additional square footage of the property that I currently own now is at 5,000 square feet for 2 lots. There will be additional 1,700 square feet, bring it up to around 7,700 square feet, I'm pretty sure. This will enable the house to be moved back from the setback of 7 feet to the backside, which is, you see on lot 19, forward to Frontage Street, creating more of a backyard usable area.
a point of clarification, for the board. For a two-family home, you need 10,000 square feet, so they require a zoning variance, to become a two-family. It's not something that the board issues a special permit for two-family, but the zoning board has to, grant a variance for lot area since it would still be under the 10,000.
Yeah, the additional space will be 2,753 square feet with the addition of lot 25 onto the parcel.
Where did the lot 25, you didn't show me this one before, where did lot 25 come from? Because our maps don't show a lot 25.
That is an old tax map that was on file in Greenberg.
Okay,
Originally, Goodwin Avenue continued on to the other side of the thruway.
so this is from a tax map from when, before 287 was built?
Yes,
Okay. Because that lot was dissolved when the state took over the property, so now
Yes.
it's just open space.
yeah, that was dissolved and that became excess property
Right,
to create frontage street, the easement of frontage street to be put through when Goodwin was cut off with the installation of 287. I think that's around 1957. So there was a lot 25 and adjacent lots. Mine, what's left now is the partial of lot 25.
I want to make sure I'm not missing.
Sure.
Your proposal, what currently sits there now?
Right now, it's a vacant piece of property, vacant lot. I have a couple of Google map pictures. So you can get more access to it. By the picture, the lot lines are not really accurate, but you can get a more of a aerial view of what we're talking about. The 12K would be the property that I currently own. And between the 12K and where it says frontage street, that would be the triangular piece that represents the 2,700 square feet.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Yes,
So that piece that was moved because of 287, that became a village parcel apparently. Was there a deed to that was sent to the village?
We did a title search, and we were unable to come up with a deed. But I guess through condemnation, it was given up for the 287 variant right of way to go through at the time. Right now, it exists as not a tax map. There's no identifiable designation on it right now. But from our research, we just found that that was part of the easement area to put in frontage street when Goodwin was cut off.
Did you have that title report still?
Yeah, I haven't, but I don't have it with me. My engineer has it.
Yeah. All right. I'd like to take a look at it.
Sure.
the piece that you're showing yours and that parcel there, you had that survey. Clearly you had that survey. Was any of this survey?
Survey, no, we didn't do any survey on it, any topo or any survey, no,
Just on yours?
yes.
Who was the survey?
Michael McGarvey, I think the topo lines go George Goodwin out to the curb line. We brought it out to the curb line. I don't think there was any reason for us to do any more than that.
Well, I asked that now because now you have improvements of parking going. there.
Oh, okay, yes, I see that, okay.
And I'm not, if I could further, you know, as I said in my memo to you guys, this goes back to 2006. And the question in 2006, as it was in 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, today, is who owns the now formerly Village of Elmsford and how did they come about? We'd asked previously for a title report for that, which he says he has now and he'll provide to us or provide to Dan. That's the first piece in this transaction. Because we need, because if the village was interested in selling it, a couple pieces you need to know. Is it part of the street or not part of the street? Because that's determines how the process goes. What is the width of the street, et cetera? We were able to find in the village hall, no documents on this piece at all, as well as part of the frontage, as well as any of the 287 coming to the village, 287 property. And then also there was a communication at some point where this parcel, village, quote unquote, village parcel is associated with the park, which is a whole nother can of worms. And only a title report from someone certified is going to solve those questions. That's the next step, without question. All those things being said, the redevelopment piece looks nice. But then we need the other questions of over here is that parking needed? Does it make sense? The one way, is that dangerous or not dangerous? And I'm having we're having an issue now with Sawmill Parkway. With Valley, as you know, we had, as we extended it, identified the parcels that were supposed to be given to the village that never were. This is the same issue written all over with 287. So, and I think the attorney will agree, we need to step by step put all those things together. And then say, yes, this would be nice, add it as a development, etc.
Yeah, that additional parking lot was approved a lot of years ago, along with the additional parking on White Plains Avenue, but we didn't do it because we couldn't borrow any money to do it. But both of those lots were already approved to do, we were actually gonna do it ourselves. We're gonna do that and add on to White Plains Avenue parking, the two parking lots, but.
To address trustee Evans's concern, if you look on the plan, part of our proposal is that we would propose to move the one-way sign from the corner of North Hillsdale and frontage up to the corner of Goodwin and frontage. And partially part of that is for the access of people that want to visit the park. This parking lot would have to be accessible, I would say, from Frontage Street, so they could come up and park and walk down to the park. But yet then stop that traffic from going around the corner up to Goodwin, which is a one-way coming back down.
Yeah, the original plan we had was access through Goodwin Avenue coming down there. And
Right.
angled the other way.
The only thing that we came up with when we were kicking this around was that if we leave the stop sign down in the corner, then everybody that wants to park in that area has to be directed up through the town, make that long loop around, putting a lot of traffic in the neighborhood of Goodwin. But not what normally would not have to be if we had the access to come up Frontage Street and park on vertically into the curb area.
When it's a big event, most of the people at the park, most of the people go down Goodwin because they parallel park on frontage on, right, like opposite the front of your house.
Yes,
So they're used to going that way. They don't come up the hill from the stop sign up.
okay,
They usually, a lot of them still come down the hill to go into their parking lot, but some of them come from, Mortimer. You know, they go around the park, the one way around Mortimer, go into those spots.
mhm.
But I agree with the administrator that, you know, first we gotta, get us the paperwork, we'll look at that, and then we gotta send it to the ZBA to see if they're gonna approve it, or it's a moot point at that point too, if they're gonna say no. And then we can all talk about the parking lot and everything else at a later date.
Right, right.
Additionally, with getting rid of land that is not developed currently, where we would be replacing grass with concrete, I think our conservation advisory council should absolutely weigh in on this as well.
Dan?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Pop or any homework other than the title search?
No, I think the title search, and I think, you know, if this is going to progress, as Mike had suggested, we'll need a survey. I mean, at the very least, we need it for meets and bounds descriptions if we're doing anything. But also, it would be helpful to understand the true, you know, boundaries of each lot and parcel. So yeah, I would say a title search and then a survey.
Tony, you want anything from Mr. Pop before we?
I think we covered, eventually we'll need some, I think we're gonna need a wall for the parking. So that would have to get designed, but that would be at a later date.
And, you know, the wall between his property and the one below it.
Yeah, that could go as part of the site plan review for the house itself, but
Are you talking about the wall between the proposed parking fence and the land beyond that toward 287?
yes,
Okay,
but you don't have to do that now, you know, once we get, well, if everything gets approved, then we can work on that.
so for now, what would be safe to say is if we could bring the survey out to, say, the fence line, or maybe 10 feet past the fence line?
Yeah.
Okay, that would probably be in the DOT right away, but nonetheless, we could survey and get a idea of where the grade.
And find out where that property line is, to make sure it's at the fence, because sometimes, you know, 287 might own, the state owns further out, or the fence line might not be on the property line, and then we can't develop DOT property without them knowing about it.
Yeah, we were just more or less following the curb line that exists already, but we'll get that done.
Mike, anything from Mr. Pop for more?
Those two things would be perfect.
Okay.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Pop for homework, or you can come back the next time?
Give me something to read.
You know what you gotta do? So
Okay, good enough.
get all that back, and then, you can bring it into Tony anytime you get it, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
Right? Thank
All
you.
right, thank you, everybody, for your time.
Yes, Mr. Smith to come back. Discuss the, self-storage moratorium, what we want to do with that. Did you?
Oh, you want to go?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yes, good evening, so for the record, Dave Smith, thanks on the Village of Ellisville. So the last time, that I was here was, earlier this month. I reviewed, for the board, a memo prepared dated January 22nd, 2024. Regarding the proposed, self-storage uses and its relationship to zoning. In the memo, we covered, the potential for, well, first, I guess the question is, you have a number of self-storage facilities in the village already, and you are looking at or evaluating whether you want to entertain any additional self-storage facilities. And so the one of the questions that we tried to respond to was, all right, so from a geographic standpoint, there were certain issues that were raised by members of the board where you have a sensitivity to kind of the retail environment and particularly in your business core and the immediately adjacent zoning districts. So I think there was some direction that you did not want to have self-storage facilities located in those general areas. So that meant if you still wanted to entertain or allow these types of uses within the village, are there other locations? And so we had identified some potential locations on the more extremities of the village, which we talked about, the business district west of the Sawmill Parkway, north of I-287, east of the Springbrook Parkway, south of Vincent Street. You have the light industrial district, which is located north of I-287. And then there was another, just because it's out there, you have the LO, the limited office district, which is in the extreme east end of the village of Elm Street. So those were potential locations where you may want to entertain those types of uses in the future, depending on your direction. In the event that you provide some direction, and in the past you have, as we've discussed, you've had geographical limitations on other types of uses, fast food, I think coffee shops, with the Starbucks, the drive-through. So it's not unusual for the village to set limitations from a geographic standpoint.
You don't use zone has its own spot.
Yes, exactly. That's probably a classic example. So in the event that you want to move forward and just limit it to certain areas, we've also suggested some language that would be used in creating new zoning law. I've had some correspondence with Mr. Posen, who's had some additional input with respect to some of the specifics that would go into new zoning in the event that you wanted to move forward with that direction. And I think there were also some specific questions or specific comments about when we started to get into the language about no lithium-ion batteries, that type of thing. And that's something that we could certainly add to any proposed language. And then lastly, just, we did include a graphic as part of the package, which indicates where your existing facilities are located right now, just as a way of helping to frame the issues for the board.
So in the proposal that was outlined, I think the areas that were highlighted, in terms of it being on the outskirts of the village, whereby it's not impacting areas in which people would see driving through. They're isolated, they're out there. I think that would be fine. I guess my only question would be in terms of the difference into whether or not this storage facility is taking something and renovating it to be a storage facility. If they're knocking something down and building it back up, I guess my concern is some of those areas could be the potential, implications in terms of, flooding and what have you. But besides that, I think if we figure, the specifics of that out, I don't necessarily see an issue with those areas.
Yeah, and I believe that any application that would come before the village as part of a site plan, right, Tony, they would need to have a stormwater management plan as part of that application. So that would be addressed as part of that, as part of site plan.
You mentioned on this report that there are no records of self-storage companies going out of business.
That was based on a conversation I had with a professional who does this for a living, who develops self-storage facilities. And I specifically asked, because I think the question came up, as part of this forum, was there any knowledge of these types of facilities, going broke or not being used? And the response that I got back was that, no, they're a type A, real estate asset, which means that typically once they're built and they're occupied, it's just, it's a steady income stream. And so there's very little chance for those types of uses, going under. And I think part of, and in response to that question, there are a number of instances where you have other types of building, industrial type buildings. I can think of a number down in the city of Yonkers that have been converted from, say, industrial type uses to storage facilities, self-storage facilities, because they're fairly easily adaptable to that type of use. So I would say that the risk of a self-storage facility going under, going bankrupt is very limited.
I also want to thank you for the report. It was kind of good. Actually, it was very good. But I think we have plenty of self-storage places built around the village. I think it's time for something different, something new. And you can investment money. And thanks for that report.
You're welcome.
So I think, if I may, the process going forward is I think we need to prepare some zoning language, which is pretty much, part of Dave's memo, but we should put it into form for consideration as an amendment of the zoning code and local law. So we can work with, I could work with Dave on that, and we'll get that together with the other recommendations he has. And certainly if the board has anything that you feel you want to add, let us know. We could put it in at least, for discussion purposes. And then once we're good with language and good with the local law, we can move forward and have that adopted, and then allow the moratorium to conclude. Yeah.
Did anyone want to change any of these areas? And we were just kind of brainstorming up with some locations. We don't know, we're supposed to be a starting point, but I don't know if the board has any other ideas or want to wipe out any or add any, or, this would be a good time, because that way we'll write it around whatever you come up with.
No, I mean, I think the draft version you guys came up with is really based upon what we were saying in terms of where we knew we did not want them. So I don't think that give you guys very many places to put them after that, right? So I think the report that you guys provided really kind of only placed them in areas that we would consider them. I think that
The one that I was questionable about in my mind was the LO district, which would be Norwood Road, where you have the LO is really consists of the one office building, 45 Norwood, and the Union Hall for the laborers, the labor union, and then two, and that makes up the whole LO zone. So, I mean, there's residential right by there. There's the club. So I don't know if you feel that is a good spot, but
I think it's great, right off like great. Okay.
since it's fully developed, I mean, they would have to tear down one of those.
I actually thought that was very much.
Okay, all right, good.
The only, the only language addition, as Dave mentioned, and I asked about in the last meeting, was some type of appropriate language regarding lithium ion batteries as being prohibited storage. You know, obviously not to include like computers or things like that, but the bikes and the motorized chairs and things like that.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Most of these places have caught on to these issues and they already have their own rules, but it can't hurt to have the village, added into our law so that it covers all of them and we could write up a violation if they're not complying with it. So that's a good idea.
And that's included in my notes from the last meeting to include that.
Anything?
Those-
You say something, Dan?
No, I was saying I was good with all those comments.
Any board members, any other comments to give Dave? To go back and add those couple things? All right.
So I'll work with staff and we'll prepare draft language for your consideration. All right,
Thank you, sir.
very good. Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Thank you, yeah, thank you. Thank you for your time this evening.
It's good to get out of the, you know, we're out of my situation.
Well, you're welcome anytime. Don't be straight.
I was, Trustee Evans, I was telling the mayor, we're having our floors redone in the house right now, so I'm living out of a hotel. So it's always nice to be somewhere other than a hotel.
I can connect with you on that feeling. I'm trying to live in it while they're doing it and then flip flop back and forth. So,
No, very good. Nice to see you again.
One other question. Are we good with the moratorium? Do we have to do an extension? Dan?
Yeah, when does that expire, Tony? Do you recall?
I
think it was
not.
I think it was adopted in September, so that would make it March. I'll take a look at it to see if it's worth extending it at all, to allow this to happen, but yeah. I'll follow up.
Okay,
It won't take us that long.
Yeah.
right. There's no application. No one's snooping around asking about
Right.
storage right now anyway, so.
Yeah.
You never know.
Come on. Thanks, Dave.
Review the seniors tax exemption law.
So. Real briefly, basically what you have before you is the local law that we already have on the books. I'm sorry, not on our books, it's on the Greenberg's books, but associated to us. So just like the fire exemption law that we're working on, if with the changes in the new law, we each have to adopt our own. So the thing that's changing in here, which the town is doing as well as all the other villages that I'm aware of within the DOC, is the definition of the income, which we spoke about previously. So basically, the definition is really including IRA withdrawals, et cetera, within the income, and that's the main thing that changed in the law. So to do that, we have to recreate our law, put it on our books, and then adopt it. So that's it in a nutshell, unless Dan has something to add.
Oh, that really sums it up.
Trustee Henry, okay for the,
Just to add, and you're right, Mike. Oh, yeah.
trustee, okay for the intended?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, trustee Coffey.
Yes.
Thank you, trustee Evans.
I just wanted, Mike, I just wanted to follow up on something with this. Was that the part, I believe it was the IRA withdrawal part is the part that if we did not adopt that, the town would then have to just modify something specifically just for us. Correct.
We wouldn't have the law. We'd have to adopt the law separately, just like we are, but leave that out. our law our law right now is there, so if they, let's say we did
Right.
nothing and they change their law, that's on.
Right. I guess I'm just not wrapping my head around their logic behind it. So including the IR withdrawals of income. Yeah, I mean, that's, I mean, I'm.
It really came from on the federal level. And to be honest with you, it's being looked at as making it more fair, more equitable.
For who?
Well, first of all, the way I understand it, 90% of the people that are even gonna apply for this, it won't even affect them.
Okay.
Because the income threshold, they're not going to meet anyway, in terms of being harmed by it. It's what it's targeted at, I believe, is the multimillionaire who that's their only income now, and that is Social Security. So it's not being counted now, and they're now eligible for this when they really don't need to be. That's the gist of it.
Yeah, it's real, but, you know.
There's, people who would be worried about this and maybe affected by it are gonna have other tax mechanisms to help alleviate that.
So basically what you're saying is you're not expecting to have someone come into the front window out of nowhere over this change in the law.
Here,
That's all I'm worried about. Thank you.
Trustee Lopez, okay for you now? The SVLC meeting was held in Tarrytown. First one we just did, and the firefighters we did already. They had a discussion between some of the communities that always discuss between Dobbs, Hastings, and Irvington about the deer that are going back and forth between all of them, and Hastings are putting up big fences, and some of them are neutering them, and et cetera, so that was brought up again on how to manage the deer that are just eating all the vegetation. Sponsors for events, Marcy wanted to know what other people do, and we and other people explained how we raise money for the events. 4 was the budget projections. It was too early for anybody to say anything. The NICOM legislative meeting, a couple of people went because they're members of the Westchester Municipal Officials Association, so they went up. Ambulance corps funding went up. Ambulance force was brought up again on who's paying people now, and Tarrytown and Dobbs and other people are supplementing their backs more and more. St. Patrick's Day parade and dinner. We'll ask if anybody wants to go to that later. We gotta vote it up. When Tarrytown has a lot of big events like the Halloween parade and the 4th of July fireworks and stuff, they're entertaining on asking them to park in neighboring communities and take the train in, because there's just too many cars coming in to the village and it's overwhelming them. So they're gonna try to advertise that to people that are in the neighboring villages or outside even, or coming from the city and stuff, to take the train and get right off, because their events are right there. You know, you get off the train in Tarrytown and you walk a couple blocks, on Main Street, or you go a little bit west and you watch the fireworks, and you're gonna try to push that. The land use seminar. Military banners, a couple of the villages have the military banners, so they were talking between themselves on how long to keep them up. And where do they put them, and who pays for them, et cetera, et cetera. Number 11 is What they want to know, in their discussions between how people spent the COVID money that we got. Greenberg, number 12 is Greenberg hired, counsel to fight the Edmond Corporation, which we all read in the newspaper too. Sustainable Westchester app, everybody's gonna stay through the app to 2024 before going to the county app. And number 14 is, that's for 18 months, it ends in October, I'm also not, talking about rejoining the, CCA through Sustainable Westchester. So. The next one is, the end of this month in Sleepy Hollow. These street business banners, we talked about changing the design a little bit. So before I get into the picture that you have in front of you, he's completed visiting all the people and everybody signed up. Correction, one person said no, but another person said yes. So all the same amount of banners are changing, to make a Rose as insurance company on Main, the corner of Goodwin and Main said no, and then Brenda's gonna take her spot. And there's still a waiting list because they ran out of polls again. Everybody else said yes. So, as you see, these are a couple of the ideas. If you like them, you can choose one. If not, we can tell him to go back. The thing that we're doing this year is the sponsor section is bigger. It's a little bit longer. It's 2/3 to a third rather than almost half and half. So if you guys like any of those designs, we can use that. They're not excellent pictures, but or if you wanted to think of something else, we don't have to do that tonight, but if you think of any kind of designs, I'd be happy to incorporate that into the banners. I'm sorry, do we know how much? All the businesses, everybody signed up except for one, and then somebody else took his spot and still waiting for it, so. These designs came from them, we had, they just changed it based on other communities.
I like 3.
I mean, I'll be the outlier and say I don't like any of them.
No, please.
I mean, none of this. Considering the fact that we have village colors, we have village logos, outside of the word Elmsford, I wouldn't get the Elmsford vibe from the sign whatsoever. So I mean, there has to be a way to incorporate. Yes, I mean, our shade of blue, our shade of green, so something.
Well, so we change the colors.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I think the logo just took up too much space, sponsors were rejected.
Oh, no, I mean, I think having a larger sponsor section is great. I just also think there should be some indication of branding on our end as well, and it just, none of these work for me.
Or if we ask them to make a suggestion, that utilize the colors that are on the logo.
I mean, that would be,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right, so
yeah.
we changed the blue to the green,
Mm-hmm.
and then what else? Add the.
You probably change the red to like the tinge of blue that's in, black, do you like that? Just something along those lines would definitely scream,
Say that again?
like the blue that's in the flag, like incorporate that into there. It would at least have some level of uniformity across the village in terms of what you see when you see village development.
So which one are you looking at as a starting?
I mean, I was looking at it in terms of 2 as a starting point. Because it's the only one that actually had. It kind of popped to me, but
I like the logo.
but they
Like the wording 3,
agree.
Yeah, like I like the welcome to Elmsford.
okay? And just, do you want to leave that, just change that to green?
Yeah, I mean, we could work, I like that wording, and we to work the colors around our logo.
So we could probably just change the part that says village up to welcome to.
Oh, that's fine.
So leave it red?
And I was thinking the red would then become a shade of the blue from the flag, or the green, or vice versa, just something along those lines. I mean, obviously, he's the artist, so I will,
No, we're just gonna tell him what to do. He's gonna redo this and send it back.
Beautiful, all right, we'll take what I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, in other words,
We're gonna tell
This is
us.
what's- Right, I'm writing down what you guys are all saying.
Well, the only
and-
reason why
and
I
I'm gonna
said-
send it to him, and he's going to give us one of these back or suggestions.
That's,
Well, the only reason why I said three was I prefer village, I prefer welcome.
Right, okay,
In there instead of village.
right, okay. And then.
so really just combining two and
Change
three.
the color.
I changed the colors, yeah. Some way to not.
Trustee Henry, any suggestions?
I don't know if out of the four, I like the number four the best, but I think that needs some work too.
Mike, which one were you saying and change to what?
The more I look at it, I like two better than three. I like
Just change your mind.
I'm sorry. Well, three, if you change the color, I like three, the wording. But the background kind of takes away from the welcome to Elmsford.
The stars.
Yeah, so if you move that over to two,
That's fine.
changing the colors, that's kind of where I was. I like the welcome better than.
Yeah.
Okay, so we go to number two and we say, welcome to, we change the red to the green.
Or tint of blue, that's in all of them. That's in all of them.
The blue part or the red?
I would change the blue to a different shade, to that shade of blue, and then change.
And then the green, the big blue area, that's shade of green.
Dark blue to the light blue. And the red to the green.
No, that's the red portion goes to the light blue. And the dark blue goes to the green. It's here.
Yeah.
Trying to do the logo.
Yeah. I trustee Henry, we'll draw that up and we'll get it back and everybody will look at the next one. I'll send it back to the, motion to adjourn the work session? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Gary, please rise and follow me to pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag